Yeah. It's okay to not be instantaneous. No. Wouldn't be human. Okay, Denise is here, so call the meeting to order. Approval of the agenda is on the agenda.
Just wonder if I can add one thing, Madam Chair. We did receive 3 thank yous for donations that came in, and I'd just like to announce them under new business.
Anything else? We need a motion to approve the agenda.
Move Patrick Street.
Second floor stuff. Any declaration of pecuniary interest? Seeing none, carry on. Today we have a delegation. Denise knows the name of the lady, so I'll let her introduce.
We have
Minutes.
minutes, sorry, yeah.
Yes, the minutes of December the 16th. And motion to put it on the table. Richard? The seconder? Thank you. Any comments or questions? Seeing none? They are approved.
Their delegation is Kalinda Montpellier. She is our broker living insurance broker, and she's here to discuss the 2026 policy and answer any questions that council may have. Floor is yours, Linda. Oh, you're muted, Linda. Linda.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Good afternoon, Your Worship, members of council, committee, and staff. I'm Kalinda Montpellier, your broker from Broker Lake Insurance. I'm happy to be here this afternoon and here to answer any questions that you may have. I hear there's been a couple questions that I've received from Denise, 2 specific ones. I did reach out to the underwriting team and risk management team at Intact Public Entities, but unfortunately, due to the short turnaround time, I haven't received the exact pricing. If we were looking at one of the properties regarding the arena, when we want to look at the change in that venue operations, what the difference in premium would be. So once I receive, usually it requires about 40 hours turnaround time to get the response back. So when I get that back, I'll do a follow-up. I'd be happy to come back to council or send the email to Denise and she can share that information with you. But I can give you, as a broker, just a little bit of my background. So obviously when it comes to any operations, any building, any changes that you're looking at doing. So for example, the one arena, there was discussions of asking what would be the difference in premium from an arena with ice versus an arena without ice. So I would just need a little bit more details to get you a accurate pricing on that. So for example, obviously when it's being rated for arena, there's a little bit higher exposures there. So obviously any type of loss that could happen there, the severity of it would be a little bit higher versus an arena that no longer has ice and maybe used full time for being rented to a third party who may come in and operate, say, basketball camp for the summer or children's youth camp for the summer that could be run by either the municipality or a third party. So obviously there's lots of information that goes into the rating of the operations. And again, is it a building that you'll be renting out to a third party? Is it something that the municipality would take on? So Denise, if when you have a minute, if you can send me the details of exactly what kind of pricing you're looking at. So again, the ice versus non-ice, but what the operations that the municipality is looking at possibly doing in the arena. And again, would it be a seasonal operation? Are we still going to be operating the arena in there, or are we no longer going to be having ice in the arena? So I just need a little bit more details in order to get you a firmed up quote. So again, liability is also rated, right? The type of operation. So like I said earlier, if an arena with ice having skaters, hockey players, stuff like that, on if an injury happens, obviously the severity of a slip and fall head injury would be a lot more severe versus a basketball camp in the summer, where yes, somebody could still suffer a trip and fall, but those injuries would be um, less severe versus on ice, if that makes sense. The other question that was posed had to do with the property. Some of the rating factors had been, so I'm happy to say that this year, the overall pricing of the insurance from the expiring term is definitely better than what we've seen in the past couple of years. So from 2020 to 2024, we were in a hard market cycle where we were seeing rate increases anywhere from 20 to 35% on municipal risks. Not only on municipal risks, I'm sure some of you have felt it also on your personal home and auto insurance. A little bit of background with the insurance industry, they're usually either in a soft market condition or hard market condition. So from 2011 to 2020, we were definitely in a state of a soft market. 2020 after is when the hard market industry cycle hit. And during a hard market, we see higher rates, reduced level of capital. And over the past 5 decades, there have been approximately 4 hard market cycles, which the last one was in the 2000s. A hard market's insurance market is characterized by high demand of insurance coverage and a reduced supply. Insurers impose strict underwriting standards and issue a limited number of policies. Premiums are high and insurers are declined to negotiate terms. Catastrophic events like hurricanes, earthquakes, fires, ice storms can generate huge property insurance losses. Insurers paying large claims for certain risks. The legal climate also plays a role in this litigious environment. Insurers may be hit with many large lawsuits, reducing their capacity, availability, and so on and so forth. And obviously, the soft market is completely opposite of that, where we're able to kind of negotiate with insurers, which has happened this year, where we're able to go back, and happy to say that Intact Public Entities has provided us with some favorable renewal terms this year. The other question that was posed regarding the rate factors on certain on the property. So yes, there was that hard market cycle. The other thing I wanted to point out also in 2024, but these are in August, we had a risk inspection done by Intact Public Entities, where they came down and they inspected some of the properties. And then we received a report from them that was shared with staff back in, I believe it was end of November of 2024, which those values would have been incorporated in the 2025 property values. So that is why you would have seen some of the values increase, which again, the premiums would have also reflected in that. And I'm happy to answer any other questions that council may have.
What? If you talk about a hard market and a soft market, well, this year's budget from last year is 13.3% up in all categories. But we have also two that stand out to me that are substantial. We have a hall called Sandfield Hall. It's 25% up, but we also have a parks and playground facility, and it's up 42.22%. And I don't count those as soft at all, but, yeah, I would like, I'll send to our staff, those questions and perhaps we can get, some dialogue on those. Thank you.
Absolutely. I'd be happy to come back to council. Again, I can come back to a meeting. We can have even a specific meeting to review the whole complete and tear that proposal from coverages from line to line. Obviously, it takes a little bit more time. So if we want to do an insurance training session, I'm more than happy to do that with staff and council. So again, some of those values would have had increased, but I did reach out to the underwriting team just to get some more clarity for confirmation versus the information that I have on file. So once I have that as well, I would come back. Just looking at the renewal proposal, if you have that, I'm not sure if you have that in front of you. If you go into the proposal, there is a page called the cost analysis, and that page there breaks down the premium line per policy line. And if you look at the overall increase, so from expiring term, it's $370,875, and the renewal is coming in at $377,007. So the
So,
majority, sorry?
can I stop you for a second? I'm
Yep.
gonna bring the policy up, so we have it on the screen here for, council. What document is that found in?
So that was the proposal that I sent over. So if we look on
And all
page,
the documents that you sent. What's the name of the document?
it would have been called the municipal insurance. The title on the document itself is 2026 Municipal Insurance Program. It would have been the email with the renewal proposal for the renewal term. It's a 42-page document, and then there would have been another attachment attached to it with the breakdown of the property values for specific location. The cost analysis can be found on page 16 of that document, sorry.
I think I found it.
Perfect.
Okay, so you
And
have, yeah, cost analysis, it's on the screen now.
perfect. Now,
I'll go
the other thing, so this proposal was sent out, that was before we had received the updates. So once the renewal documents will be issued, there'll be a few little changes from the stuff that staff Denise had sent over to me. We did a few changes on the auto policy. So some vehicles that were deleted during the term are added. Obviously, they get adjusted at the end of the year. So the auto policy, definitely that premium, which you're seeing at $52,047, that one will be coming down. I think the last time I reached out to him, haven't got the documents yet. We're looking around probably the $48,000 with the changes, with the additions and deletions. So there's some savings there to be had as well. We've done some changes to the property again. There was one of the locations that was deleted a few years back, which turned out that it shouldn't have been deleted. It wasn't sold, so that was added back on prior to renewal. And Intact Public Entities agreed to add that coverage prior to renewal at no additional cost. And on as of renewal, it'd be added with the premium associated with it. So again, comparing from line to line on that cost analysis. So your combined general liability, casualty liability policy, the total premium stayed the same. The errors and omissions stayed the same. The non-on auto is up like $4. The environmental is up $72. The crime 21. So all those are like very minimal. The one, again, still not huge, but again, it's also incorporating the increase in property values. So it's the property policy is up by $47.45 versus expiring term. So very pleased to see that it's within the softer market cycle, where during the hard market, we were seeing, as you are aware, very higher numbers from expiring onto renewal. Some of the changes on the auto that were done after we had received the proposal or we received the updates. There was 2 vehicles that was added. There was, I should say, the 2025 Miska 30-ton equipment float, 2024 Corn Pro tilt equipment float. There was a sidewalk piece of equipment, but that would be on the equipment policy, not the auto. We've also deleted a 2016 Dodge Ram, a 2003 Tagalong trailer, and a 2016 Dodge Caravan. So again, that auto policy will be coming down probably, like on here, you're seeing it's up 1,000, but the renewal premium is probably going to be coming in around the $48,000 premium.
Brian, you had a question?
Yeah, when you started your presentation, you were talking about third-party rentals. What is covered and what is covered by the third party or by us, the municipality?
Are you talking specifically, Brian, about the facility rental agreements, or are you talking something else?
So I know it's just that you mentioned third party. Now, third party means that to me is somebody coming in and renting the ice or renting the hall or whatever like that.
Correct. So the
Yeah.
question that was sent over had to do, there was a question asking what would be the savings and premiums for an arena with ice versus without ice. And that's why I was just kind of briefly saying, so without knowing the full details of what the arena would be used for. So for example, is this going to be a long-term plan or a short-term plan with the arena? Or is this something every year in the winter it's being used as an arena, but during the summer months we're looking at doing a different venue, i.e. is the municipality bringing in, thinking of running a childcare program, summer program, or are you planning basketball camps? Is it a municipality run program, or would it be a third vendor coming in and using that facility? So it's just a little bit more information that I need in order to, and then I'd be happy and can provide you with an accurate pricing on the difference of the operations. All that information when the underwritings are underwriting the risks and need to provide a quote on it. There's a lot of details that go into the background in order for the pricing. So obviously, an arena with ice poses a higher risk of injuries, severity injuries harder versus an arena that is being used in the summertime for a basketball camp. Yes, you can still see some injuries with basketball camp. They may not be as severe. They could be more frequent, but may not be as severe as an injury with a skater on ice that suffers a head injury, for example. So that was just the example.
If I was a user group and I wanted to rent the hall for, say, a day or what about that, what would be the liabilities that like, would I end up paying something as a user group, or would that the municipality's insurance cover that?
No. So the municipality has the liability policy for all their operations, all their premises. And we have the facility user group separate policy. So for any third party short-term rentals, the municipality is offering for people coming in, for example, who wants to rent the hall for wants to rent the rink for a birthday party, wants to rent a hall for a birthday party. We have the facility user group policy that the municipality can use for that, which staff has the rates for those and have used it. No,
We're not duplicating premiums or whatever like that. We're not
no,
carrying it.
not
Okay.
not duplicating at all. So the importance here is when you're renting out any venue, any facility to a third party, the importance here is we want to make sure that we are transferring risks over to the appropriate party away from the municipality. If there's any event that you have no control over, for example, that third party coming in renting a specific venue facility for a specific event, municipality has no control over it. We want to make sure that the liability is with the appropriate party. or if even the third party coming in may choose to purchase their own liability policy through a third vendor. There's like third party alcohol parties that they're called PAL that provide coverage. So or if a third vendor coming in, for example, you may have I don't know, the Children's Aid Society needs to rent out your facility for a days that they're offering an open thing for members of the public to come in, see what they're about. Obviously, their facility may not be big enough. They may have their own insurance policy for their operations, so they can provide a certificate of insurance confirming that. Our main goal is always to make sure that there are legal agreements in place between the municipality and any third party who is coming in to renting out the facilities. And again, getting a certificate from those third parties um, and adding the municipality as additional insured. The facility user group, again, is another venue that third parties can use if they don't have their own personal liability policy for the rental that you're using. Again, whether it's a summer market, again, renting it hall for a birthday party. There are some criteria for the facility user group that they qualify. There's certain ones that don't qualify. All of that is outlined in the documents that we've provided. Also explains the premiums. Anytime staff has any questions on not sure what to charge for those, they've always reach out, me confirm what those premiums should be.
Thank you.
Okay, Derek, you have a question?
Yes, if we have a committee of council, a group that is appointed by council, that is a fundraising organization, would that group have to have their own insurance to put events on, or would they be covered under the municipality's, coverage?
So if it's a committee of council, we always ask to send that information over ahead of time so we can review. And obviously from there, we would provide recommendations. So whether A, yes, this your liability policy would cover it, or B, the facility user group, or C, none of the above. And then if we want everything outlined, the responsibilities of each, but those are always reviewed on a case by case. So it all depends on the scenario.
That's a question I'd like to ask for community center boards. Whether they're covered under our municipal,
Yes.
uh,
It all
or
depends on-
whether they have to get their
It all
own.
depends on the activity. Any specific fundraising activity, we discuss it with our broker.
Correct.
And she will let us know if it's covered. Most of the stuff that is normally covered, falls out, yes. It's covered by our insurance. They don't have to get special insurance for it. If it's the community center board that's doing it. However, if they're doing an event that requires alcohol, then no, obviously we don't cover the alcohol portion and they're required to get their own alcohol insurance for that. But most of the times, if it is a special event, we will confer with Calinda and she will let us know if any extra insurance is needed by the facility group.
Thank you.
Yes, your
Anyone else?
staff is great and wonderful at reaching out all the time.
Okay. Question?
Now, Calinda had indicated that she would be willing to come back for a training session on the insurance. Is there any indication from council as to whether they want to for me to set up a training session?
I
think more information is always needed.
Okay. All right, so then I'll work with Calinda and we will set up a daytime training session. Is that okay? All right. Okay.
Okay, I see no more questions, Colleen, so thank you very much. It was a very interesting summary that you've given us and some idea of what you've been working on, and thank you very much.
It's my pleasure. And again, any other questions you have at any time, please reach out. And I'd be happy to get back to Denise on that and she could share with council, or if I need to come back to at council's request, want me to come back and address those, happy to do so at any time. And I would it's my pleasure to look at setting up some risk management session for council and staff in the near future.
Thanks.
All right, thank you, Calinda.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Okay, carry on to old business. Before that, Denise, do we need a motion to
Yeah.
accept the insurance
provided.
information?
Yes, so we'll Councillor Steve.
Thank you, and a seconder. John, thank you. Going to old business. Housing development. Have you heard anything further on that, Denise?
No, just that DSAB is in the process of concluding their housing needs study. And we'll report to council when they've given us some information.
On to the new procedural bylaw 2025-12. Third and final reading. Have you received any comments, Denise?
I have not received any comments that have not been included within the body of the document. I did think that Dale, that you had one comment that you had wanted to discuss.
Yes, Port 3B, for the agenda, the items need to be referred. There's a notification of 4 p.m. 7 days prior to the meeting. That would be council members and committee members. The only thing is, when it gets to delegations, they can, on 4.8D, they address only items on the agenda. 4.8B is notification, and that's 10 a.m. 7 days prior to the meeting. Right now, we are getting agenda between 36 and 48 hours prior to the meeting. So in order for delegation to get on the agenda, there would have to be an earlier notification of agenda. The only other thing is that the times are a little bit different in petition, notification times in petitions and in delegations. The petition bylaw says 4 p.m. 7 days prior to the meeting, whereas the delegations is 10 a.m. 7 days prior to the meeting. The petition rules in the procedural bylaw says it goes back to the regulations of the so that's 4.8, and that would then be also the 10 a.m. 7 days prior to the meeting. So there's different times there, and I'm thinking, so that's not confusion, we should set the same time, the same notification time in both petition and delegations. And that's all.
So is it preferable to have the 10 a.m. 7 days prior or the 4 p.m. 7 days prior?
If I may, Madam Chair, it's really hard then if our agendas are coming out theoretically 7 days prior to a meeting. And we require 7 days prior to a meeting for the delegation to talk about anything that's on the agenda. It's really hard for the public to make a delegation within 7 days, when the agenda comes out and they still only have 7 days. So there needs to be two different time lanes there. Either that or we have to come up with our agendas way earlier. Because I think the public needs to have the right to speak to items on the agenda if they wish. So the times have to match or be able to work.
I understand that, but it's like a egg and a chicken. The delegation doesn't know until the agenda is published, but once the agenda is published, then you have to add delegation. So, I mean, if we know that there's notification for an agenda, and the committee would then be informed that there is a request for delegation. Once the agenda is set, it's up to the chair as to whether they would accept the delegation and add it to the agenda at the time of the meeting, or conversely, if you know that there's a delegation that wishes to speak, the issue could be put off so that the delegation then could speak at the next, and then, but the thing is that council wants to speak about the thing first before you hear about a delegation. Because when an item comes up, like, I don't know, I'm just trying to think of some random thing here, okay, I don't know, someone wants their sidewalk plowed, right? Does the issue wish to be discussed by council first? Before hearing a delegation on it, or do you want to hear the delegation first and then have discussion on it? Because you can either take the agenda item and say, okay, well, we can hold it off till the next month pending the addition of the delegation. Or we can add the delegation as a added item at the time of the meeting. You know, like you add to your agenda, like we added to the agenda today. And then you hear the delegation speak about the item that you're going to speak about later. So it's up to council as to how they want to do it.
Well, I think that the item is on there and council already makes a decision. Then the delegate never got to speak. And that's the problem I see with a lot of things that happen, and all of a sudden we get delegations coming to meetings. After the fact, after the motions have been made. And I think we have to allow the public an opportunity to speak about issues before council makes decisions on them. So that's why I think that has to be two different time periods there, you know, maybe 7 days for the agenda to come out, but you only need 2 days.
But then I'll have
Put
to
an
alter
agenda
the
on
agenda.
That's fine, that can be done right at the meeting.
So
Is
you're
there
saying
anything to
7
add
days
to the agenda? Yes, we have a
7
delegate.
days to post a draft agenda? And then, you know, I mean, there's got to be a clear point in time that staff knows, hey, my agenda's set. I can send it out to council, I can post it on the website. Staff has to be able to do their work, right? So if we're always sitting there waiting to the last minute, just in case somebody wants to talk, that makes it really hard for staff to prepare the information for the meeting. So procedure wise, so when you look at it, there are ways to allow the public to speak. Like if somebody puts in a request saying that, you know, you're talking about sidewalk plowing and I'd like a chance to speak. Staff can easily take that information and say, at the next meeting, we will have 2 delegations that wish to speak, you know, on the matter of sidewalk plowing. And council may at that time choose to discuss it and then reserve any decision until after they've heard from the delegation. Like, you don't have to make a decision at every meeting that you discuss stuff. If you know that there is people out in the public that wish to speak to it.
Ms. Richards.
Well, I think we're Denise says the chicken and the egg business, but we're also cutting pretty tight our agenda time frame. Tonight, we have a meeting. And if tomorrow night happened to be council meeting, the day after, you've only got 2 days maximum in the first place, so you have to have a cutoff time. And when you're going to prepare that agenda. And anything after that has to be moved on to the next agenda. But as Derek's indicated, if there is an issue that somebody wants to speak to, they've got to have the opportunity, or we've got to give them the opportunity to have that speak before a decision is made.
I understand that, but sometimes the meetings are big, huge. Sometimes we already may have 2 delegations. We put an item on the agenda and now a 3rd delegation wants to come and speak to it. So is it prudent that we say, okay, we're gonna add that 3rd delegation, even though you're after the time limit? Or is it better just to say to council, we're going to have a delegation next month on this issue? council can then choose at time whether they want to make a decision or whether they wanna make the decision in the following month after they've heard from the delegation. Like, I understand that the public wants to speak and needs to speak, and it's their right to speak. But we also have to run an orderly meeting that doesn't go overly long, because that's difficult on both council and staff. So there's gotta be a delicate balance between how much we can actually fit on an agenda. And sometimes when the items are contentious, there could be a fair amount of people that wanna speak. And it can override the order of a meeting, so. We do have to have a set date where the agenda has to move forward and has to be posted. If a delegation wishes to speak after the agenda has been completed and posted, it's up to the chair at that point in time as to whether they want to add the delegation, depending on the size and the scope of the meeting, or whether they want to say whether they want to request that the delegation be moved to the next month. We will always consult the chair. So the chair will always know that there is a delegation pending that wishes to speak to an item on the agenda. And if there's time allotted, sorry, Dale, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just saying, if there's time allotted at the meeting, that it's a fairly light meeting and there doesn't seem to be any problem with adding a delegation, the chair could easily say, with only 2 days' notice, yes, we have time on the agenda, we will hear the delegation. So, I mean, it's dependent on circumstances on what's on the agenda. And the chair can make that decision as to whether to hear that delegation or move it to the next month and hear it at the next. But the chair will always know that there's someone who wishes to speak on an item for the agenda.
Okay, Dale.
Yeah, the one concern I have is that a committee meeting and in the same week, council follows. So a committee meeting on Tuesday, like property, and then council is on Thursday. If an item on that agenda is sensitive for a delegation, they wouldn't have opportunity to speak in the property, but not in the council either because of the notification time. And therefore, a recommendation going to council gets passed. That's the motion and that stays. And we've seen that happen. And if we keep this somewhere 24 to 48 hours, we're getting the agenda, that has to change because of the notification times. Even council and committee members have to follow the 7 days prior to the meeting. So we're going to need the agenda much earlier than we're getting it right now.
And that's the purpose of setting the dates. Right, so when we look at especially property, this one really affects property.
Mhm.
Because property's on a Tuesday and council's on a Thursday.
Mhm.
Well, obviously then the items that come from that property meeting will not be on that Thursday agenda.
Mhm.
Because I don't have enough time to finish the council agenda before the time deadline's gone by.
Mhm.
So unfortunately, the council, the second council meeting of the month will encompass only what is in roads and waste and water. The final council meeting, I mean, and it's helped by the fact that both waste and both office and administration and safety, security and health are now on the third Tuesday. So now property, safety, security and health, office and administration and Fed can go to the fourth Tuesday of the month and we can still publish the agenda on the Friday. So it's just property that's gotta be rejigged to the second agenda for council, and we can still publish the agendas on Friday before the Thursday council meeting.
Yes, Rose.
Well, all I'm gonna say is if we had less meetings, it'd be a lot better. Nobody saw that one. Put more together and we wouldn't have to have 2 meetings every week. And extra time the staff has to deal with.
I mean, the issue is, well, okay, when are we gonna publish the meeting? So we say that we wanna do it 7 days in advance. So that means property would then be posted on the Tuesday before. That the agenda would be finished and it will be posted. That gives, since it's posted on the website then, that gives plenty of time for the delegation or any delegation that wants to speak to an item to call up and say, hey, I'd like to speak to item 7B, sidewalk plowing. And at that point in time, I would say, okay, well, I'll verify that with the chair. I'll talk to the chair. Do you think we have time on the agenda to allow for delegation? And depending on the heaviness of the agenda, the answer is either gonna be yes or no. If the answer is no, we don't have time because we have 2 delegations and we have a whole bunch of correspondence and there's just not enough time. The chair will know that there is a delegation that wishes to speak to an item. So it's up to the chair at that point in time and myself to tell council or tell committee that we're going to have a delegation with respect to item 7B at the next meeting. So in your discussion, that there's already going to be public issue with whatever it is we're discussing. So you can choose at that point in time to hold it over or to make your motion and allow the delegation to come in and make their, thing at the next meeting. It's up to council how they want to deal with it at that point in time. I've given you the information you need to know. What do you want to proceed? If the answer is yes, that there is time on the agenda, they will be manually added to the agenda at meeting time. Like we do change of agendas here. I'm not saying that just because they're not in 7 days in advance that they will never be allowed to be put on that agenda. Okay, that is up to the chairperson to decide.
Okay, I don't have a problem with that, as long as that information is relayed to the committee at the time that such topic, there are delegations that would like to speak to that, that would be fine. Then that's just an easy motion. Yep, we'll just defer that to the next meeting.
Mhm.
But if that information is never relayed to us and motions are made, then having delegations coming after the fact is really hard.
Well,
And it's
both myself
really hard in
and
the public.
both myself and the chair will know that there's a delegation request. And so it will be relayed to the committee that there is a request for a delegation for a specific item.
Linda,
Yes,
you're right, Denise. You have already told me a couple of times delegation for my meeting. You've informed me before, and I had a choice of saying yes or no. So we've already done this. We've already done it.
Yeah, this is how we add items currently now. It's no different from how we normally add items. It's just staff and the public need that 7 days. Cause you're right, I mean, for us to issue, agendas the morning of, and that's happened sometimes. Like if I'm away on a Wednesday for some reason, a doctor's appointment, council doesn't get issued until the morning of the meeting, and that's not fair to the public. If they've been following and they know what the minutes are that's coming into it, they will have a fairly good idea of what's going into council. But if they're not, if they're just looking at the council agendas, then that doesn't give them very much time to prepare. And sometimes the agendas for committee meetings are posted 2 days before. That's standard. But that's not enough time for the public to know and to prepare a delegation and to ask to speak to council. It isn't. That's why I'm proposing the 7 days, hard cut off to the posting of the agenda. The acceptance of the delegations to be added at the meeting.
I don't have a problem with that.
so you're going to add this to the procedural bylaw?
Well, Dale's question is just to make sure that both the petition policy and the procedural bylaw merge with the timing. So I'll change both to 4 PM, 7 days in advance.
We need a motion for that. do we?
No, what I could just say with changes is noted. I will note the change in my, cause it's getting changed in the petition policy, not in the procedure. The procedure bylaw stays the same. So I'll note that change in the petition policy. Oh, sorry, no, it does change in the,
Yeah, simple.
the procedural bylaw gets changed. Item 4.8D, the time of 10 AM will be changed to the time of 4 PM. Okay?
Yes, yeah, go ahead.
And would we need to, is there a need to, when the agenda is received, that it'll be 7 days prior to the meeting? Will that be written in so that,
Soon enough.
Yeah. It's my hope that the way hopefully it'll work 7 days prior to the meeting, by end of day, staff will issue. Now, we're gonna be conferring with the chair before the agenda is set, so the chair knows automatically. So after the agenda is set, we will post it and we will issue it to the council. At that point in time, 7 days in advance. So 7 days in advance, you should know what the agenda items are.
And so should both.
And yes, because we're gonna post it on the website, so the,
So that's what 4.3B means. 4.3B says all items of this agenda will be referred to the clerk by 4 PM, 7 days prior to the date of the meeting. So that's what that means, that the agenda will be set and received a
Yeah.
week before.
because normally we work on the agenda as the month goes on. So when we get close to setting the agenda, we know what's on it. We've already probably discussed it with the chair. So the chair knows what's on the agenda. It's just those last minute things that might come in. So that's why we want it to set for 4 o'clock so that at 4:30, everything can be done and posted.
Okay, so are we going to make a motion to approve the third and final reading for this procedural bylaw
Is
today?
there any other comments on it? Any other changes? Linda, we do have a comment from the public. If you want to allow Maya to make a comment on the bylaw?
Oh, yes, okay.
Just wondering in regards to, let's say there is a delegation, the agenda was posted. Somebody chose to be a delegation to one of the items mentioned on that 7 day prior agenda. Would it, I don't know what the procedural bylaw says in that regard, that item would not be discussed. Should there be no room to add the delegation to that particular meeting? I thought that might be, I don't know what the procedural bylaw says in that regard. I know not much.
Don't think it says anything to that, because at that point in time, once the chair knows that there is an item on the agenda that a delegation wishes to speak to, it's up to the chair at that point in time. The chair has control of the agenda for the meeting. So it's up to the chair as to whether they will defer it or allow it to be discussed and to what point it will take it.
I'm just wondering if there's a safeguard that one could put in, that something couldn't be pushed through by a certain chair at that particular time in time. To disregard delegations that would like to speak.
I think we also have to have a safety in place to ensure that the business of council moves on, because technically then there could be a delegation request every week in order to stall a particular decision of council. So we can't sit there and say just because there's a delegation request on an item, that the item won't be discussed and that council won't move forward on the business. Because it could be, item, group A, in the first meeting in January says, no, I want to speak on this, I'll be at the February meeting. By the time the February meeting hits, there could be group B that says, no, I want to speak on this too. And it could be like a rotating thing where if we put in a safeguard that says, okay, council can't move forward on an item if we know there's a delegation, that it could stall the business of council.
Yes, Richard.
I think that's the purpose of that 7 days, is so that both council and committee and the public are aware that there's 7 days in order to make a statement to the CEO that they want to be a delegate. So as long as it's done within that period of time, they have the same recourse as council does, basically.
Okay, one more, Adam.
It would only really be, the public having an opportunity for about 5 days to take a look and see. The agenda's posted 7 days out, but by the time, you don't want 2 minutes before the meeting, say, public had 7 days, so I'm here on day 7 with 10 minutes left to say I want to be a delegate. There needs to be a little bit of advanced warning so we can give you documents that they prepared, or at least inform you some way of this is what the topic is gonna be. So I'm saying that if you're gonna do something like this, then the public has to read the agenda, posted 7 days before the meeting. They have 5 days to respond to say, I want to be a delegate. Then we were talking to the chair at that point and say, so today's Tuesday, my Fed's on Thursday. So by 4 o'clock today, I should be talking to Councillor Mitchell saying, okay, you have 2 requests for delegation. here's the topics, boom, boom, here's your documents that go with it. You don't want Thursday morning, me calling Mr. Mitchell and saying, oh, by the way, this person wants to be delegate, let's inform council what's going on. So there has to be a little bit of buffer time in there.
I think that's what I was saying, that we have that buffer time, so whether it's 2 days before the meeting, a delegate could be added, or. I don't think the bylaw actually
No, you're
deals
right.
with
The
it.
bylaw doesn't deal with, there's a cutoff time for a delegation request.
Yeah.
So I could add that, you know, the delegation request must be submitted, you know, by 2 days by 4 p.m. 2 days prior.
I wouldn't have a problem.
Still leaves it within the 7 days.
It still leaves it
Yeah.
within the 7 days, and
It's got fighting chance.
Okay,
I can add
So-
that.
so can we leave this then until you make the changes and we'll bring it back to the next meeting and pass it there?
Yeah, that's fine if you wish to defer it to the next meeting.
We shouldn't be passing something that needs to be a depth.
No, that's fine. I can, for,
Yes, John, sorry.
Well, I would have looked up if the conversation was carrying on. You brought up the topic of what the delegate is going to speak to, and it was told by me, told by others to me, that we usually get an idea of what they're speaking to. Normally. There's been a couple of instances, I can give one more recently, where an impassioned speech that was pre-rehearsed, pre-written. I haven't seen a copy of it yet, but we could have easily had a copy of that speech that was impassioned speech. Could have been given to council prior to. We have also had an individual come to council. We asked for information on the topic that the person was speaking to. Never did get it. And then lo and behold, we had another very impassioned speech about sports, and it wasn't very nice. And in what I would perceive as being kind of blindsided as to exactly what he was leading into. So if we're not told, if we have something in writing that gives a breakdown to what they want to speak to, I think that should be part of the delegation's responsibility to council under item 4.8. So right now it's reading that they wish to be a delegate or to submit written submissions. So I don't have a problem with writing written submissions for council to read and discuss. But if you have a delegate coming to, he has to follow the 7-day rule. But I think he should also, or she should also follow the intent of giving a description of what it is they're speaking to council, so that council can prepare themselves for what they're about to hear.
Yes, dear.
I think that if a member of the public tells Denise that they want to speak to a specific item on the agenda, that is all the information we need. We don't know what they want to talk about or anything else. That is their right under our free speech, is that they can come to council and speak to that item. If we are going to say, well, we want prior knowledge of what you're going to say in your speech, whether it's a passionate speech or a crazy speech, makes no difference. It's still the public's right to come to us and speak. And to deny somebody by, oh, this is what they wrote, we don't want, no, you can't do that. That's illegal. And we put the rules in place that delegates can come and speak, and delegates can come and speak. And if you can't handle what they say, you shouldn't be here.
Madam Chair, if I may, if this is more of an indication to what they want to speak about. I'm not suggesting for a second that we restrict them to exactly what is laid out in each paragraph.
Yes, yes.
I'm suggesting that we have a paragraph, 2 or 3 or 4. Leading into what it is that they want to speak to. And in any speech, and I may be one of the worst culprits, that I kind of deviate from what it is in the direction of the conversation that I want to speak to anybody about. So it's an idea to give us a direction. And it's not the idea of limiting or causing the delegate to be very specific. Not only with the direction that he speaks, but also with the indication in a written statement as to the direction they want to go. Or to speak to. It's not limited. It's giving council a better idea of what they're speaking about. That's what I'm trying to get at.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, it's 4.8. Delegates shall provide the CAO clerk in writing a request outlining the subject matter of the delegation and the action being requested to be taken by council. That's right. So it's already in the, it's in there.
Okay. Follow the rule. Are you in agreement with that, Denise?
Yeah, I will add the section regarding the delegations need to register, 5 days prior in order to be able to be, in order to be considered for the agenda. And it's up to the chair at that point in time as to whether they will accept them on the agenda based on the, what's already on the agenda kind of thing.
So what do we need then? We need a motion to what?
No, just that you send it back to, back to committee or just back to staff, and then we can bring it back to office and administration in the next month with the revisions. Okay. So it's just a direction to staff.
Okay, we'll carry on. Whole business still. Events, grant application, a large event. It's still in process, I think.
Yeah, that's going to be working into the facility rates and stuff like that, so we want to make sure that they all work together.
The same with a small event.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll go on into a petition policy for a third and final reading.
So Dale was speaking to section 7.5.2, and that's the time and the date that we wish to set for the submission of the petition.
Yes.
So is there any other changes, or is there any other items on the,
Were there any comments?
I'm not aware, Denise.
I'm not aware of any. I mean, this has already been through, a previous comment period where there was comments.
Yeah.
And we've tried to integrate the ones that the committee had discussed. And agreed with, so as far as I know, since the last posting, for comment period, I have not received any comments. Other than the comment that Dale had.
Just still.
So I guess Denise, the same changes would also merge into the petition policy, so they would be the same, right? A petition policy and delegation would be under the same rules that we're considering. We're considering updating or amending the procedural that you're going to get back to us, and would not the petition policy fall under the same type of
It would, but a petition is a little different if it's not accompanied by a delegation. I mean, a delegation could ask to be, based on the procedural bylaw, and then submit a petition as their information.
Mhm.
right? And that's part of the information submission that they have, so it kind of circumvents policy. But if someone wants to just put in a petition as a petition, then it would be required to be brought in 7 days prior, so that it can be added to the agenda as an agenda item, rather than just adding it after the fact, kind of thing.
And presentations, we talk about presentations too. Of course, that's in the procedure bylaw, and they're under the same rules also, are they not?
Yes. Well, I mean,
Petition, if I may, petition could be given to council without a delegation.
that's right.
It's just a petition, and this is just a policy for a petition
Yeah.
to all of them follow the same.
Yeah, however, a petition can be put in as information with respect to a delegation as well.
Yes.
So there's two ways of petition. You can
Yeah.
come in as a submission with respect to a delegation and just on its own through different policy.
So can I have a motion to accept the petition policy?
I'll make a motion that we give the petition policy its third and final reading.
And Dale will second. Thank you very much. Anybody opposed? Gary. Now we're going to go on to new business. And the mayor would like to talk to us for a minute.
Well, I just wanted to acknowledge that we did receive three nice thank you cards from members of our local school. I do want to thank Councillor Scott for being there to hand out the bursaries that we were so pleased to present. Our first one is from Zach Cooper. He just says, thank you for your generous donation and other things, so we do appreciate that. The second one was from Alexi Young, and thank you, Mayor and Council, for this award. And third, we have a thank you from Mayor and Council, thanking you for my award from Connor McCarthy. So we do want to acknowledge and thank them for their return. Wish
Very
them
nice.
well.
See young people do that. Okay, we'll go on into correspondence. First one is a correspondence regarding the Sandfield merrymakers.
Cross was not online. He did ask for the Zoom link, and I did send it to him. Thanks.
We got it. You got it? Anybody else?
Oh, wait, hard copy. Want a hard copy?
So, well, read it. So we'll open it up for discussion. Any comments? Yes, Dale.
Well, first of all, the euchre night, I'd like to know how much they make per night. They're asking a quarter of the rental. Like just 25% of the rental. I'm not sure that that's consistent with, in the past, we were considering 50% reduction, but in this case, it's quite a substantial change. I would like to note that now they aren't paying any of the heat and hydro, well, I guess it's the same, any of the telephone, any of the maintenance. We cover the insurance, I believe, don't we not? Oh, no, they have a liability insurance.
Yeah. Well, no, we still have insurance on the building, but
Right.
currently, right now, the agreement is still. The spirit of the agreement is still in place and we haven't made any changes, so they still continue to pay for the hydro.
Mhm.
And any of the maintenance that they've done, that's something that they still continue to pay until council officially, until this agreement is done. And then we will assume responsibilities for the heat and the hydro, maintenance, the upkeep, I mean, as it is right now, we do the grass cutting, which used to be done by them. We do the grass cutting now, the snow plowing now. That's automatically already added into the municipal workload.
And I noticed for the budget coming up next year, it's considerably larger. I think it was 10,700 was listed last year, and this year it's already 25,500. So it's quite an increase in expenses that are predicted. And if they're not having any expenses of hydro, telephone, and maintenance, then there's a huge savings for them there. And then the other question is, I didn't see any revenue coming in last year on the revenue side.
There wouldn't be.
There wouldn't be any
revenue. $1, 20-year lease. It was, no, it's sort of 10 lease that was done.
Right, and no donations came in from the, no. Yes, Brian.
I read through this thing here and I looked at the definition of a not-for-profit. They definitely do meet the criteria for a not-for-profit organization. But it says that any revenue they make should be turned back into themselves or to the betterment of their program. Without seeing their books, and I hate to ask them to see their books, but in order to see how they're doing and how they're planning on staying afloat, I think perhaps the municipality should see their books for the last 2 or 3 years to see how they are functioning. Or we could make a decision on the 25% or 25% that they're looking for.
Yes, John.
So I'll give it to you from the property point of view. All our facilities, and yes, they are municipal facilities provided to the general public. They all run at a deficit. And I was actually looking at my list to see if Sandfield was on the list, and it's not. So potentially, by adding that building onto the list, it's gonna add to the deficit, and most of which we already assumed, most of it, at this very point in time. So the only thing that's going to happen, since now we actually maintain and run the building completely, is that the maintenance costs are gonna go up. So in order to compensate for the increased costs, we need to stick to the program that we've bought, paid for, and set up payments that have been somewhat approved by council. But they have the ability to come to council and ask for a credit and or a reduced rate. But every time you do that, it just increases the deficit of what we're incurring for all these buildings. So if we give them a discounted price, we're still paying for it, but you're spreading it out amongst the whole municipality. And somehow or other, it just doesn't seem right. You have to stick to the user pay program. And it doesn't have to make huge returns. We need to get closer to what the operating costs are of the municipality. And we're not doing that. We haven't been doing that. So, yeah, give them a discount. Increase the debt. Because it doesn't show it on my list, but it will. Because now it's gonna be on our balance sheet.
Richard?
Yeah, I just want to follow up. John's indicating, we do have it on the list, John, it's just not showing up here. It's lumped in under parks and playground there. But it is about $10,000 that we're paying out for, the insurance is 8,600. And, Sandfield, maintenance is, 1,100, so it's almost the 10,000 right there. We're just going to be adding, I guess, the hydro and heat and, that's about it.
Well, just as an update, the building will be set in our property, expenses exactly like all the other buildings are.
So
So we don't
I
have
just
this-
have a item, a
It
group for
won't be
that.
one item, it will be broken out into,
Right.
you know, 5 or 6 line items to
And the
show
rest of the
insurance and hydro and all that kind of stuff broken out. So Adam's working on those numbers with Dave, and it will be there broken out into the draft, budget.
If I can refer you to page 18 of your budget right now.
I don't know if they got their budgets with them.
Oh, okay. I had broken out Sandfield Hall and the church. I added the church in there as part of the draft budget that we have in here.
Is it in your, the budget document?
Yeah.
If they go to
It has
budget
on the
document.
property section, but yeah, it's in there.
Yeah, I'll bring up the budget document so they can see it. if they want.
Instead of reducing buildings, folks, we're adding it.
Part you're looking for would be right above parks and playgrounds.
In the operating?
Yeah. Actually, yeah, I all, the only thing I left over was just for SSNH and O&M. I hit everything else.
Where you go?
Yeah. Not the first suggestion they want.
So there's the Sandfield Hall, how it's gonna be broken out. And there's what's the budgeting on this area here. That's what's being budgeted now.
Right, so Dave had mentioned that he wanted to do some painting and some lighting, some accessibility work, so that's why, the first line of Sandfield Hall maintenance had increased, and then we went ahead and we added, the hydro line and the telephone internet line. The snow removal is gonna be done in-house, and I think that's basically what we did there. He understands the fact that now that we are taking over the hall, the actual amount of supplies is gonna go up because we'll be, now renting the facility ourselves, so we'll have more toilet paper, paper towel, blah, 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 that we're paying out of our pocket as opposed to the Merrymakers paying out of theirs. So that's why the budget jumps from 1,000 to 4,500 on that second line, but other than that, it's pretty self-explanatory. And although we're not talking about it,
I think a good thing to do, just you were asking to see what their figures were from previous years.
So $6,000 or, I was looking at the,
Now, these estimates are based on the Springdale Hall, right?
yeah,
Because we figured it was a comparable size hall, so hydro, insurance, all that kind of stuff would be comparable.
and I believe the church had based off of the Providence State Hall, just from a space perspective.
So.
so
church
who's paying the hydro in that building and the telephone?
Right now, it's the Merrymakers that pay.
Pardon?
Right now, it's the Merrymakers that are paying for both the hydro and the telephone and all that.
We are gonna take the hydro over, and
Mhm.
so it's gonna cost us.
Yeah, that's what we get in there.
They were able to make $6,000.
Well, we don't know that the hydro costs are gonna be.
No,
That's estimated based on Springdale Hydro.
but we can go back and figure out.
We can ask them, and we can
Yeah.
definitely contact them and ask them what their hydro bills were for 2025, and I'm sure they will supply that for us.
And the telephone. And-
Yeah,
Yeah,
Maintenance.
yeah, okay.
yeah, we'll,
Maybe just
I'll
just
make
make
a
it a
note.
bit easier for Adam there for doing his budgeting.
okay, we'll know that.
Their actual maintenance supply might be a little bit trickier, but the fact that they have probably one telephone / internet bill and they have one hydro bill.
I don't think they have internet there.
Okay, well, they definitely have a phone then, I'm gonna guess.
Yes, yeah. they
So-
have.
Phone slash internet if they have internet, if they don't, then just phone. Over maintenance would be multiple different suppliers, depending on how they keep their books, how well they keep their books. But the hydro should be easy enough, it's one entity you're dealing with.
One thing I would like to say is that it's a nice, and it's a new hall. And it's, you know, it's not large, not small, it's just a nice medium-sized hall. I think that once we take it over, I think we will have quite a good response of people wanting to rent it. Because
Now-
it's a nice little place.
There is a requirement that we make it AODA compliant. So in the capital budget, there is an item to put in the proper accessible door. That's the only real upgrade that that building needs.
Okay, move on then to.
Hold on, no, we need to know, did we wanna request the information from Hal and then return it at the next meeting? So that we know what their savings are going to be
Yes,
for their expenses?
yes, direction of
Okay.
staff. Yeah,
I would just like to note that they are a non-registered, not-for-profit, community-oriented organization. So they're not registered, so they're not incorporated. And not-for-profit doesn't really mean anything.
No, it's just
It
a word.
doesn't mean anything.
But they beat that. If you look at the definition of a not-for-profit, they meet that, which is basically a social group or whatever. But what it says is they're supposed to be turning their funds back into their own operation or whatever and not make it. No one person makes a profit. But basically. That's what it
If
says.
I may as well, that statement right there represents about 95% of the groups who rent any of our facilities.
Exactly.
So if one's a not-for-profit, by that definition, just about everybody is.
Okay, move on to 8B, a letter from the Peterborough Police Service Board. Regarding stable funding for the Police Service Board. We want to follow this up and reply to it, or do we just accept it for information?
Well, I think that it would be a motion to support, the resolution of the, city of Peterborough. This actually stemmed from, at the last Safety Security Health meeting, it was requested by the committee that Sue write a letter regarding our issues with the funding request, and she was at a loss as to, well, what do I put in, how do I make a good motion on this, what am I supposed to do? And there really wasn't much out there, as to what was written regarding a well-worded letter, and then this came in, and so I said, well, why don't we just bring this back to committee? And we'll support, if council wishes to do that, support this letter, and then that will stand in for the letter that you had asked staff to write regarding this.
Yes, so go ahead, Derek.
And I agree, and I've asked this question a couple of times and I still haven't got an answer to it, as to what our police service board costs us. We know what the police contract costs and it goes up all the time, but I've never actually got an answer to what this board costs us. And we're paying for that too, so
Yes, Brian.
Mr. Mitchell sits on.
What would you like to know?
what is
We
the
are
overall cost of
standing
this
out.
board?
This year, we have set up a budget. And it'll be presented very soon. We have no control basically over it. We can set the figures where we. But it's going to be a percentage to each municipality here in the island. It's under that police services board. The province of Ontario has set the guidelines. And we're trying to keep it as low as we can. But they have said we will do this. And I'm still scratching my head as to figuring out how this all happened, but we don't have any power to say no. So the board is here to stay. And it just seems like it's the flavor of the month. They're doing one thing and then concentrating on that, and then they move to the next step. All this budget stuff and all the legislative stuff was all supposed to be done a year before, but it's still ongoing, it's still evolving. A provincial representation on the board has not happened yet, that was supposed to happen a year ago. So we still have vacancies on this board, and the board is supposed to pay for provincial representation. So that's part of our budget that we're doing right now. Training for people on the board, part of the budget. So there are different things there, but we are just in the process of finalizing the budget to present to councils now. And there's other stuff coming down the pipelines too, but we get this stuff every time we meet. We meet once every 2 months, and we get whatever's being sent from Southern Ontario. And that irritates me no end.
Yeah, and I think that's what we need to know, because we have to be able to budget. We know what our police costs, but whether or not this is still an unknown.
Yeah, and I think there's gonna be a police presentation or at MMA, is it tomorrow night?
Yes.
I think there's gonna be a presentation, I won't be able to attend there, but I did ask them the question about costing for our, sorry, change this up, costing to the municipalities, eh? And they were supposed to do a presentation, and then, cause I did ask some questions that for Christmas, and they said they're gonna, do a presentation. Now, it could be that same on that PowerPoint presentation, but basically, I did ask them how they're getting these numbers. So Dale and Richard, you'll be there too. Anyway, you may be able to have some questions tomorrow night. Find out more, but
Yes, Richard.
Just as an aside to that, Brian, it's not new that the municipal or the province isn't appointing people to boards. We're at the end of our term of planning board, and we have not had the
Yeah.
two appointees that they were supposed to do at the beginning of our term, so it's not new.
I'll make a motion that we support the city of Peterborough's motion.
A seconder? Richard? Anyone opposed? Okay, we're going on to a letter from North Watch. This is a very interesting letter. In that they are objecting to the haulage of waste from Darlington, Pickering, at Bruce Station, Bruce County, and reactors in Quebec, and we're going to bring them across our northern roads to Brighton. North Watch is very concerned about this. They're asking us if we will support their objection. Any comments? Yes, Richard.
Well, we had this whole process relayed to us earlier, only it wasn't going that far west. It was gonna just be up in our northern domain here above
Near the center.
where was it?
Yeah, near it, center.
Near the center, right.
Agnew.
And they have old Agna mine, so at least it's getting further away, but it's still a very iffy project, and one that I think we all need to be concerned with, but I have no way of knowing what better way there is to do it. So some
Yes.
I was at the AMO, meeting. And this group talked about it. It's on indigenous property. It is up in the far northwest. Not that far from Dryden nor. One of the concerning facts is that they need to use rail and transport or highway. And they need a secondary optional route. So they'll have their main route using rail and trucking, and then a secondary route. And they're going to have to get clearance to go through every town that, and they're working on that. The only other option is where the, hazardous waste, nuclear waste is right now. According to this, they want them to be able to look after it in their little, like it was Bruce Nuclear, they would look after it right on site rather than transport it.
Yes.
We never did hear what the cost estimates were per year, but it's a tremendous number of truckloads
Yes, exactly.
going.
Yes. 2 or 3 trucks per day it says there.
Yeah, and plus the rail.
Yes.
Or why couldn't all go by rail, Dale?
The rail doesn't. There's no direct, there's rail all the way there to where they're wanting to. I think it's 750 meters. They're going to put a shaft down and bury it in the rock. But there's no direct rail. You can't
So it'd have to go from rail to truck then.
put to truck.
So it's not only transporting, it's also offloading.
Offloading.
Gonna be an opportunity for spills.
Yeah,
And you would think that the waste that's coming from Quebec, New Brunswick would come across and go Highway 11.
mhm,
They would pass our part of the country, go
to
through
the
there.
north, yeah.
But I think we should support this, the letter and, do you think it requires do you think it requires a reply, Denise?
You can accept it for information only, you don't need to, they do have, as a. Attachment, they do have a, and it was included in this package, the draft motion. You can just accept this for information only, you don't have to. Support or do anything with the motion.
I'll make a motion that we accept this information.
Seconded for that. John? It says here too that we are going to, we will be hearing more about it as time goes along, so. We change our mind with. Do something about it then, I guess. Okay, now we're going on to. Police Service Board and Municipal. Budgeting. And strong mayor's powers. Who would like to talk about this?
I'd just like to make you all there.
Okay,
I just really like, I can't remember how many paragraphs down here it says. Although municipalities are not required to adopt the board's estimated budget as submitted. They cannot approve or reject specific line items within the estimates. Municipalities are required to provide the police services board with sufficient funding to comply. So, yeah. And we got members on the board, we got councils that are sort of responsible for the taxpayers on questions that they ask of this board. We don't have any control over anything, just pay the bill and shut up. That's basically what the government's telling us there in that sense. Just pay it, you can't say anything about it. So,
Then Derek, if you read page 2, it says. Some organization provides dispute resolution pathways,
mhm,
and then it goes on to tell you how you can do it.
mhm,
And then it goes to arbitration,
mhm.
and if you're lucky. Maybe you would win.
Just pay the
And
bill.
you forgot one thing. And no clear way of disputing. Their facts and figures.
Any other comments, Richard?
Well, I just underlined that it says there are dispute resolution mechanisms. Where could you ask?
There we go.
So we shall accept it for information.
Working with the cop, they got the good.
Motion accepted for information only. John,
Then Dan and Dale.
Yeah.
Okay, well, now we're gonna go on to financial business, the donation method.
No, wait, motion to be accepted donation, right? Here.
John, you'll second it. Thank you. Any comments?
But we're still well within our budget, but we're
Yes.
very early in the year too. But I guess this is the
No,
end.
this is the
no,
end
this
of
is,
the
yeah,
year.
this is the end of 2025.
Yeah.
I think we did very well.
One question, Linda.
Yes.
Denise, down on the arts and culture, we have expense the $1,500. What was that?
Yeah, it's offset the top, the removal of the banners, the remaining big banners.
Oh, yes, right, yes. I remember that now, thank you.
Yes,
Adam?
Richard.
Just was trying to see what the big difference was there. And I see it's Manitoulin Streams. Yeah, we've been paying, they're donating $5,000 a year to them every year, but it's not in here this year. Did we not receive a letter of request from them, Denise, you know?
I'd have to go through and look.
I think it's one that's been very efficient and effective in all of our communities, and if we've been dealing with $5,000 every year, then maybe that was exactly what we're short here is about $5,000 on our expenditure.
I don't know that I've seen anything, but do you wish to make a motion to donate $5,000 to Manitoulin Streams under the 2025 budget?
Well, I would like to have a copy of their financials. It's a fair donation without seeing what we're donating to.
Okay.
John.
Did we not earlier, give them $750 and then, later this fall, give another $750? I'm thinking December sometime. Or is it something else I'm thinking of?
Don't recall that.
I don't remember that.
No,
I don't recall cutting a check for them.
okay, must have been something else.
But I think it's something we need to follow up on and we can get a copy of their financials and we can make an easier and better decision.
Okay.
There was another one, North Shore Rescue, did we not make a donation to them?
We did one time.
North Shore victims.
Yeah.
I don't see it on
Something
there
that they
either.
were sponsoring. We put it in.
We did it last year. Would it be on there?
If you don't run it to a North Shore, $1,000 at one point.
Way back in 22.
Oh.
Once again, I think it's up to those agencies unless we say we're gonna sponsor them for the term of our council to come back to us each year with a request. So I do know that we do that. Sometimes we will make donations based on the term of our council. But other times we wait for the letters to come in before we donate, so that could be why it's not on there.
If I may, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Wasn't that the case maybe with Manitoulin Streams that they issued a request for funding? And it was a 4 or 5 year request for whatever amount.
No, I think you're right. I don't believe.
Yeah.
It was spoken
Yeah.
to,
Although I think we did ask them to submit a letter requesting, but anyhow. I'm
And
just
I
thinking,
can confirm that there was no donation from Manitoulin Streams in 2025.
Okay, so I'll go back to 2020 and look at what the original motion was to see if it was a 5 year. Because we have done a 5 year cycle by the look of it.
Mhm.
So, and if, depending on with how that motion reads, we will request a copy of that financial statements and move forward from there. Okay.
Okay, we'll go on into the year-to-date financial report. For office and admin.
Should make a motion to accept both office and then safety and security at the same time.
I'll second that for you, Linda, Dale.
Dale? Any questions? Richard?
Well, I did have one, Adam, you might be able to answer this. I'm looking at the office and admin. The very last item there,
If you can, please.
reserve to capital,
What's the number?
okay, for 350,000 and 24.
Yeah.
Any idea what that was all about?
I believe a bunch of that was for the boardwalk as well as playground equipment, if I remember correctly off the top of my head. But, we had budgeted, I think, 200,000 or 250,000 for the boardwalk, which I transferred to the reserve, and we budgeted, I believe, either 50 or 75,000 for playground equipment. The exact, that represents the lion's share of that. There might be something else small in there that I don't remember off the top of my head. But that was, last year's. I haven't done any journal entry yet for this year to move anything that was in our capital budget for 2025 into that. But, we would have budgeted another $200,000, for capital spent for the boardwalk this year. We would budget another $50,000 for the playground equipment, so that's another 250 that should be going in there. I haven't done a journal entry for that as of yet for 2025, but yes, that was in there.
But normally is that not done through the budget process? I've never seen it in our expense reports before.
Is it in the budget line item or is it in the expense, the actual paid out expense line item? I'm sorry, I don't have it here in front of me.
Just, it
Is
just,
that in your budget?
There
Let me bring that up.
was not in the budget, per se, from that perspective, no. There were 3 items last year, 200,000, which would have been the boardwalk, but $50,000, which would have been the playground equipment, and another $100,000, I can't remember what that was for.
but it shouldn't be in our expense report. The credit should be.
I think that was there from a balancing perspective, to make sure I was able to balance it, and then from the trial balance, how. It's the fact that it's showing up, and maybe it just should be hidden.
Oh, take a look at that and it
Okay.
should be added differently.
Okay.
And the reason I spotted it was that, only had 600,000 in expenses versus 1 million in expenses this year, so. That was the biggest chunk of it. That's all I have, Madam Chair.
And what about safety and security? Are they free and clear?
Didn't get a chance to get to that.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, then we'll go on. We've got a motion to accept, haven't we, Denise, on that?
Yes. Okay.
Okay. So we've got the draft budget, capital budget for office and admin, safety, security and health. Any comments before I pass this on? Or has it already been passed? Maybe it's been already.
It's already been passed through. This is just if there's any further discussion regarding. obviously operating with capital for those, particular communities.
I had one with regard to the fire department. And it was Rapid Intervention Team, SCBA.
Is that on corporate, is that in the capital?
For new, and it was 44,000. What was that? Do you know what it was?
Which is SCBA,
SCBA.
self-contained breathing apparatuses, so they probably need, new ones because some are being outdated. And,
So they're expensive, I think.
well, that's what it'll cost for them. Yeah, they're not cheap. But they only have a lifespan of a certain length, and then they have to be put out of service and replaced with, new.
I see. Anyone else?
Same with baby strollers.
Baby strollers, baby seats, baby chairs, baby anything these days, moving jumper. Have you turn around, they change the rule.
So now, we need a motion to adjourn.
Sure, I can do that for you, Linda.
Thanks, Dave. Derek, thanks for bearing with us. That was a long one for me.
Yeah.
Well, it's our Linda or Rose's business too.
Didn't have very much.
Delegation.
Yes, that was right. That's. Anyway. Doesn't mind driving in the snow.
She likes to be on the.
Yeah, I think that's the, yeah, I think so, that's where she,